Okay, we'll call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. Just before we get started this evening.
Yeah, we're getting the mute. We're getting the mute there, Dan.
The procedure for tonight's meeting. I'm still out of sorts here. The procedure for tonight's meeting is we have 5 applications that we'll be hearing this evening, followed by, so we'll go through each one of those. The first order of business will be to ask any committee members if they have any conflicts of interest with any of the applications this evening. Follow that, we'll request for deferrals or withdrawals of applications that are on the agenda. Requests will be made, since this is a virtual meeting, as we bring in each applicant, we will ask if they wish to continue or defer their application. The Secretary Treasurer, once we bring in, we'll read out each application on the agenda, followed by a staff recommendation with regards to the application. Following that, the agent will then be brought into the meeting. They can introduce themselves, provide any additional comments that they have at that time that they wish to add. Committee members will then have the opportunity to ask each applicant any questions that they might have. I do have a list of 2 people that have registered for delegations to speak to applications this evening. Once we've gone through our questions of the applicant, then we will bring in these 2 as required per application, and they will be afforded 10 minutes to present any questions or comments they have in that time frame. I would ask that when they do come forward, that they ask all of those questions that they have within that time frame, that 10-minute time frame allotted, as you may not necessarily be allowed to return to speak to the same application a second time. Following public comments, the applicant will have an opportunity to present any final closing comments that they wish. And then the committee members will present a decision in the form of a motion. The motion will be discussed and voted upon. If a vote is tied, the motion will be defeated and a new motion will be made until we have a decision. Notices of decision will only be provided to those persons who have left their names with the Secretary Treasurer and the Planning Division. They can contact Samantha Yoon at Samantha, SAMANTHA.Yoon, YEUNG at portcolborne.ca, or they can leave a voice message at 905-835-2900, extension 204, either immediately following the meeting or first thing in the morning, to receive a notice of decision. In order to be advised of any possible local planning appeal tribunal hearings, you must request and be sent a copy of the committee's decision. So with that, I'll ask if there's any committee members that have any conflicts this evening. And David, if you can look, because I can't see everyone on my screens. Maybe I can go around the table.
It's just me today. Dave's not here. I don't see anybody with the conflict there.
Sorry, Chris. So with that being said, we will move to the first application, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first application for tonight is A10-22-PC, and in the matter of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP13 as amended, and section 2.8.12 of the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended. And in the matter of the lands legally known as Part Block D on Plan 3761 in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, located in the first density residential zone, municipally known as 346 Sugarloaf Street. And in the matter of an application by the owner, Jennifer Poholsky, for relief from the provisions of the zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended. Under Section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP13, so as to permit the construction of a garage, notwithstanding the following. 1, that a maximum height of 6.29 meters be provided, whereas the maximum height permitted is 6 meters. A notice was circulated to the public and required agencies on April 21st, 2022, Please note that the comments are summarized for the purpose of this meeting, but a full copy have been sent to the committee and applicant. Should any member of the public wish to view them, please contact the planning department. As of today, the following comments have been received. Treasurer Curry is concerned that the accessory structure may impact their privacy and would like to know more about the use of the structure as they were not contacted by the applicant. The Fire, Drainage, and Engineering Department had no objection or comments. Given the information in the planning report, planning staff recommend application A10-22-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1. The application is minor in nature. 2. It is appropriate for development of the site. 3. It is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. And 4. It is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And that concludes the correspondence of this application.
Thank you. And can we bring in the applicant, please? Or the agent for the applicant?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you, but we can't
Can't
see
see.
you just yet.
Okay, let me see here.
Start audio.
There we
There you
go.
go.
Hi.
Good evening. Just before you get started, you don't wish to defer or withdraw your application this evening?
No,
Very good. Do you have anything further you'd like to add at this time?
not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any committee members that have questions or comments for the applicant? Donna?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just had a question. When I got this, I was looking at it. It looks like it'd be a nice building. I just wondered about, you had said in it was a storage loft. And is there going to be sleeping quarters or anything at all up there? Is it just strictly, it said 2x4s and things. So it sounds like you're just going to be putting things up into the loft. There's not going to be a floor in the loft?
There is a second floor on the loft, which will be a smaller footprint than downstairs because the slope of the roof. It's a storage area up there.
Okay,
Is
it's
what
a
we
storage
use.
area. Okay,
Yeah.
is there, I know there was a bit of concern on window placement. You know, is there any possibility that you might be able to look at not locating a window at the one on the one side? Where
Which side was that?
I believe it was east facing.
There is no window.
I don't. Yeah, there's
there
there's one window. We're surrounded by neighbors over top of us on the back of the hill. I don't know if you know the landscape. It just
I do,
blends in.
yeah.
It blends in so beautifully. I chose this building to appease all neighbors,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it really is not an eyesore. This is a beautiful structure, and I'm making it as such.
Oh, no,
With-
I'm not disagreeing with you. It looks
Yeah.
very nice. I just, you know, I think there was a bit of a concern that you know, if there were people up there, but I thought particularly that was my question regarding the storage.
No, it's not a living quarters. There's not a bathroom. It's
Yeah.
simply
Okay.
storage.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else got any questions of the applicant? Not seeing any. I believe this was the one of the applications where we had someone that wished to speak to this application. Chris, if you can bring him in at this time. If they're still there. There we go. We can see you, but you're still on mute.
Fixed.
There we go. Just before you get started, just your name and address for the record.
Sure, absolutely. It's Mike and Treasure Curry. Address is 344 Sugarloaf Street, L3K 2P3 here in Port.
Very good. Thank you. The floor is yours, and you can ask whatever you like. Or
Yeah,
express
no,
something different.
absolutely. It was kind of clarified there. We just wanted to make sure that we were under the understanding that there was going to be like a living quarter of sorts on the second floor. If it's solely going to be used for storage, obviously our only concern was if there was potential of people being up at an elevated level with a window facing. Just our privacy is very important to us, as I'm sure is everybody there. But if this is a non-issue, then we have no questions.
Very good. Thank you. And I don't believe there's any other delegations that wish to speak to this application. I don't know if any committee members have any other questions or comments near the end. Nothing. Is there anything that the applicant wishes to add at this time?
Not at this point, no.
Pretty straightforward. Very good.
Yeah.
Do I have a recommendation from one of the committee members? Angie?
Yes, thank you. Application A1022 PC. The land's legally known as Block D, Part Block D on Plan 3761, municipally known as 346 Sugarloaf Street. That minor variance application A22-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, it is appropriate for the development of the site. 3, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purposes of the zoning bylaw. And 4, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent of the purpose of the official plan.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder to that? Gary? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. Thank you. There is a 20-day waiting period, but after that, you should be able to apply for your building permit.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
so we have to apply for it. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Samantha, whenever you're ready for the next application, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next application is A1122 PC, and in the matter of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended, and Section 2.8.13 of the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended. And in the matter of the lands legally known as Lot 14 and 15 on Plan 4 in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, located in the first density residential zone, municipally known as 138 Omer Avenue. And in the matter of an application by the agent Jamie McNay on behalf of the owner Karen Stewart for the relief from the provisions of zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended under section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, so as to permit the proposed accessory structure in the rear yard, notwithstanding the following. 1, that the accessory structure be permitted in the corner side yard with a side yard setback of 1.22 meters, whereas accessory structures are not permitted in the corner side yard. A notice was circulated to the public and required agencies on April 21st, 2022. Please note that the comments are summarized for the purpose of this meeting, but a full copy has been sent to the committee and the applicant. Should any member of the public wish to view them, please contact the planning department. And as of today, the following comments have been received. From Debbie Goodings. She has concerns with drainage and flooding in the area that impacted neighbors when completing yard work, and asked to implement adequate drainage to help relieve the flooding issue. The fire, drainage, and engineering department had no objection or comments. Given the information in the planning report, planning staff recommend application A11-22-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, it is appropriate for development of the site. 3, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. And 4, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And that concludes the correspondence of this application.
Thank you. And Chris, if we can bring in the agent for the applicant this evening.
Hello,
Good evening.
how are you?
I think, is that Jamie speaking?
This is Jamie speaking, yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you. I don't know if you have a camera on your computer or not.
I'm supposed to be on right now. I'm kind of new at all this. My wife's going to come give me a hand right now.
There we go. All right, just before we start, you don't wish to withdraw or defer your application this evening?
No.
Very good. So with that, the floor is yours if there's anything further you'd like to add at this time.
Okay. We've already been granted a permit for this project. And then when we went to the minor land variance to move it closer to the road, then they decided that we had an issue with the access being on the side yard. We're only asking permission to be 4 feet off the road instead of the 3 feet. There is already an existing garage there on the property line, which would be safer to move it back to 4 feet. There is a storm sewer there for the drainage, so I don't think the water issue would be an issue at all. Karen's here also if she has anything she'd like to say, the homeowner. I know there has been no water problems with that property for years now because I've known the fellow that used to cut the grass there. I think that's about it on my end.
Okay. Thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions for the applicant, Gary?
Hi, yes, Jamie, are you going to be the contractor builder?
Yes, sir.
Would you just be using your standard protocol? I mean, downspouts away from the building towards an egress or down the driveway?
100%. We drain the yard properly after the construction site, and like I said, there's storm sewers out front, so maybe we'll just aim everything towards the storm sewers, and then there's also a ditch at the side yard too that goes directly to the storm sewer, so that would be a definite drainage point.
Great, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? I don't believe we have any delegates for this particular application. So is there anything further that I guess the applicants already had their say, and there's no one else having any comments? I do know in that area, I used to live on Omer down a little bit farther. It's kind of flat there. I don't think they actually have storm sewers. They're probably more just covered ditches. So there's not a lot of flow to probably a lot of the stuff there. So when there's a real good downpour, there's probably water all over the place until it gets into those ditches. So other than that, like I say, I did drive by and did note that the existing garage is there. And that, so you're saying the setback would be a little bit farther than the current garage, is that correct?
Yes, the garage is on the property line right now, and we're asking for 4 feet off of that.
Okay. Okay, that's all that I had. If no one's got anything else, does anyone have a recommendation? Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the matter of application A1122 PC, municipally known as 138 Omer Avenue, the minor variance application A1122 PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, is appropriate for development of the site. 3, is desirable in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 4, is desirable in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder to that? Angie? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready for the next application, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So our next application is A12-22-PC, and in the matter of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, as amended, and Section 5.3G of the City of Port Colborne Zoning Bylaw 6575-3018, as amended. And in the matter of the lands legally known as Concession 1, Part Lot 32 in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, located in the first density residential zone, municipally known as 21 Walnut Street. And in the matter of an application by the owners Lisa Shirk and Irvin Gertzen for relief from the provisions of zoning bylaw 65753018 as amended under section 45 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13, so as to permit the construction of an addition on the rear of the dwelling, notwithstanding the following: that a rear yard setback of 4.88 meters be permitted, whereas 7 meters is required in the R1 zone. So a notice was circulated to the public and required agencies on April 21st, 2022. As of today, the following comments have been received. The Fire, Drainage, and Engineering Department had no objection or comments. Given the information in the planning report, planning staff recommend application A12-22-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, it is appropriate for development of the site. 3, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. And 4, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And that concludes the correspondence of this application.
Thank you. And Chris, if you could bring in the applicant or the agent for the applicant. Irvin, if you're trying to speak, your computer's on mute and your camera's still turned off. Technology is great when it works. Chris, are you able to chat with them through the screen? Through the Zoom meeting?
I can give it a shot here.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not really kind of illiterate when it comes to technology.
There should be a little image of a little camera somewhere on your screen too, if you got a camera available.
I see you guys, but I'm trying to find the camera thing, and I'm new at this. I just got mute.
Yeah, it should right beside it. Looks like a little camera.
Okay, I'm trying to find the camera thing.
Go back to where you were.
Oh, I'm scared to touch anything. I'll lose you guys. I hear you perfectly.
Yeah, we can hear you as well.
You might say share video or stop video.
Okay, I've got a black screen, and then there's a small black screen in the bottom with a plus in the one corner and a minus in the other, and it's got my name in the bottom corner.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, we can go without the video, I guess.
Okay,
Just before we get started, though, you don't wish to defer or withdraw your application this evening?
No, I don't.
Okay. So with that, feel free to add anything you'd like at this point in time.
I can go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, since living here for the past year, I've acquired this place. The deck that's on the back of the house was there since it was built, because I'm the original guy that sided this house when it was built for the original owner. And all I want to do is put a roof over it so that I can sit out there in the rain and not be worried about it, and just close in the walls. Make it a 3-season room. That's it.
Okay.
So I'm not expanding it. That was already there. I'm just going to cover it up.
Okay, very good. Do any of the committee members have any questions for the applicant this evening?
Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I can hear.
I just want to say a nice house. Lovely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Interesting history that you actually did the siding and the brick and that on the front. The stone is lovely.
You know, it's very interesting because I sided it and everything, and then through quirk of fate, my spouse and I live here now. So yeah, it's a real quirk of fate.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Thank you.
The only question that I have is that in driving by, I didn't stop and go look at the back, but I did notice that there was a southern wall already erected on the side. Is that all that's been put up so far?
The wall was put up because I had old antique windows put in there at one time, and then I took the antique windows down. It looked kind of like a beachcomber's hut. And then I decided, apply for a permit, do it right. All I did was I closed it up, and then I told the building inspector, John, I said, oh, I closed it up. He goes, okay, don't do anything else. I said, no, I just closed it up to keep the weather up. That was it.
Okay. Very good. So with that, I don't believe there's any delegations to this application either. So with that, I don't have anything further unless anyone else has anything further. I'll look for a recommendation. Donna?
For application A12-22-PC, in the matter of the lands legally known as Concession 1 Part Lot 32, municipally known as 21 Walnut Street, that minor variance application A12-22PC be granted for the following reasons. The application is minor in nature. It's appropriate for development of the site. It is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder to that? Gary? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. Thank you. There is still a 20-day waiting period before you can get your permit, but after that, if no one appeals, you're good to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, the next application, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So our next application is B08-22-PC, and in the matter of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, Section 53-1. And in the matter of the lands legally known as Lot 1 on Plan 53 in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, located in the first density residential zone, municipally known as 141 Merritt Parkway. And in the matter of an application by the owners Mayo and Patricia Ridsick for a severance under Section 53(1) of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13, so as to permit the conveyance of Part 1, having a lot frontage of 16.46 meters and a lot area of 519.2 meters square for a future residential use. Part 2 will retain a lot frontage of 21.5 1.5 meters with a lot area of 681 meters squared. A notice was circulated to the public and required agencies on April 21st, 2022. Please note that the comments are summarized for the purpose of this meeting, but a full copy has been sent to the committee and applicant. Any member of the public wish to view them, please contact the planning department. As of today, the following comments have been received. So Jody Trottier, she does not approve of this application. She has concerns with the location of the property lines. The projected build area would encroach into their backyard, causing privacy concerns and overall concerns of the neighborhood aesthetics. The MTO has no objection to the consent application, but the property is located within the MTO permit control area for the Highway 58 and Merritt Road North intersection. As a result, a MTO building and land use permit is required prior to construction. The fire, drainage, and engineering department had no objections and comments. Given the information in the planning report, planning staff recommend application B08-22-PC be granted, subject to the following conditions. One, that the applicant provides the Secretary Treasurer with the deeds in triplicate for conveyance of the subject parcel or registrable legal description of the subject parcel, together with a paper copy and electronic copy of deposited reference plan, if applicable, for use in the issuance of the certificate of consent. 2, that a final certificate fee of $216 payable to the City of Port Colborne be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer. 3, that the owner and applicant at their own expense obtains and submits an appraisal for the purposes of payment of cash in lieu of parkland dedication by a qualified appraiser, which is to be based on the fair market value of Part 1 the day before the building permit is issued, and that the owner/applicant pays to the city a cash in lieu of parkland dedication, which shall be 5% of the appraised value of Part 1. And 4, that all conditions of consent be completed by May 11th, 2024. For the following reasons: 1, the application conforms to the provincial policy statement, the policies of the regional official plan, City of Port Colborne official plan, and will also comply with the provisions of zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended. And that concludes the correspondence of this application.
Thank you. And Chris, if you can bring in the applicant this evening. Good evening. Can you hear us all right? Very good. Just before we get started, you don't wish to withdraw or defer your application this evening?
No.
Thank you. Is there anything further you'd like to add at this time?
No, Thomas.
No.
Very good. Do any committee members have any questions for the applicant? Gary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. You're severing this property. Are you currently living in the house that's there?
It's under renovation.
Okay, very good. And with respect to this severance, I'm assuming that's to someday build another dwelling?
Most likely.
And there was a concern by your neighbor there. I mean, this isn't the subject of this application, but I think if you I want to take that into consideration in terms of your distancing from the neighbors. Is it your plan to build or just
No.
sell?
Not at this time.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other members have any questions? Not seeing any. On this particular application, we do have, I believe, Jody Trottier wishing to speak to this application. So if we can bring her in at this time.
She was sent the invite. I don't see her in the attendees section, unfortunately.
Okay. So then, since she's not there, Does any other committee members have any other final questions for the applicant? I guess just to Jody's comments, some of them, I did look at her correspondence. We did receive that ahead of the time prior to this meeting, her full email that she sent, and that looking at her comments, as far as what's being proposed here, and I think there was some correspondence that was sent back to her indicating that the envelope that was shown on the attached sketch was simply the building envelope, not necessarily they're going to build in that complete boxed area. It's just that's the available area to build something in.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. In addition, I don't believe there was any other variances required at this time to meet these requirements of the severance. So both on the remnant land and on the severed portion. So other than following standard bylaw requirements, there's no other restrictions here with regards to these properties. So from that perspective, hopefully that addresses some of her questions or comments. Donna, I see your hand up.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I was reading over the remarks from regarding the MTO and the ability to put the driveway in and all of these pieces that have to be satisfied because of it coming off being that corner lot and where it is. The people that own this property that are here, they understand everything that might be required going through the MTO to do that, to build on that piece at a later date.
Right.
Yes, and
You
it's
okay
not
with
the corner property already has the driveway grandfathered in, so we're not changing that, the corner one, in any way at all.
Okay, but you do understand that if you wanted to put one out on the front, there were restrictions that the MTO says because of it being the type of road it is. I just want to make sure that you are aware of.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely,
You'll have to jump
absolutely.
through a few hoops, probably.
No, you're right. We do understand that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Angie, did you have a question?
No, I don't, Dan. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So with that, if there's nothing further to add, I'll look for a recommendation. Okay, Angie. All right, I'll take it upon myself. Then I will move application B0822-PC. The land's legally known as Lot 1 on Plan 53, municipally known as 141 Merritt Parkway. That consent application B0822-PC be granted, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report dated May 6, 2022, for the following reasons: that the application conforms to provincial policy statement, and the policies of the regional official plan, the City of Port Colborne official plan, and will also comply with the provisions of zoning bylaw 6575/30/18 as amended. Can I get a seconder to that? Angie? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. Thank you. There is a waiting period to go through that, but in the meantime, I don't think you have too many conditions, so you can start working on those, and you should be off to the races.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Secretary, the last application, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our last application for tonight is a 20-22-PC. In the matter of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended, and Section 16.3G of the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended. And in the matter of the property legally known as lots 4 and 5 on Plan 58 in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, and located in the agricultural residential zone, municipally known as 954 Wildwood Road. And in the matter of an application by the agent Hamid Barami on behalf of the owner Elizabeth Dimitrov for relief from the provisions of the zoning bylaw 6575/3018 as amended under Section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13, for a proposed detached dwelling, notwithstanding the following: One, that a maximum lot coverage of 15.2%, whereas 10% is required. A notice was circulated to the public and required agencies on April 21st, 2022. Please note that the comments are summarized for the purpose of this meeting, but a full copy has been sent to the committee and the applicant. Should any member of the public wish to view them, please contact the planning department. As of today, the following comments have been received. The MPCA will have no objections to the proposed minor variance, provided that the applicant receives a work permit from the NPCA for the proposed septic system. The Niagara Regional staff does not object to the application, provided the owner fulfills the conditions set out in the recommendation. The Regional PSS staff does not object to the application, provided that the applicant applies for the septic permit application for the installation of a new Class 4 septic system. It is noted that the applicant should stop construction activities immediately if archaeological remains/resources be found during construction activities. Given the information in the planning report, planning staff recommend application A 20-21-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, it is appropriate for the development of the site. 3, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 4, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. Subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner submits a stage 1 and 2 assessments, plus any subsequent recommended assessments for the area of proposed development provided by a licensed archaeologist to the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture Industries for review and approval, with a copy provided to the City of Port Colborne and Niagara Region. The report must be accepted by the Ministry, and a copy of any applicable MHSTCI letters of acknowledgement shall be provided to the Niagara Region prior to clearance of this condition. Note, no demolition, grading, or other soil disturbances shall take place on the subject property prior to the issuance of a letter from the Ministry. Confirming that all archaeological resource concerns have been mitigated and meet licensing and resource conservation requirements. And that concludes the correspondence of this application.
Thank you. And Chris, if we could bring in the agent for the applicant this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Good evening. We can hear you. We just can't see you yet. I don't know if you have a camera available to you.
I do have a camera here, so here it is.
There we go. Very good. Just before we get started, you don't wish to defer or withdraw your application this evening?
No, sir.
Very good. With that, is there anything further you'd like to add at this time?
I have the drawings open. It was a pretty lengthy condition, but this is a third time actually that we're coming back to committee. The issue was with the NPCA that now they're approving the septic location in the backyard, and I'm happy to answer any question.
Very good. Thank you. Do any committee members have any questions of the applicant this evening? Not seeing any. The only question I had, the plan is still the same, right? You're going to demolish basically at the end of the day the existing dwelling and then build.
That is correct. So the owner at the moment, he's only building the north parcel, and he's as staff recommended, half of the existing dwelling will be demolished. The intention is to keep the other half during the construction as a storage, using the utility toward construction of the new house, and then it will be demolished 18 months after.
Very good. Thank you. So with that, I don't have anything more to add. Does anyone have a recommendation? Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to application A 2021-PC, municipally known as 954 Wildwood Road. that a minor variance application A20-21 PC be granted for the following reasons. One, the application is minor in nature. Two, it is appropriate for development of the site. Three, it is desirable in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. And four, it is desirable in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder to that? Angie, any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Have a good evening.
Well,
All right. Other business. Does anyone have any other business? Gary.
yes, Mr. Chair. I was unaware whether, until today I spoke to Chris, whether we were going to go with a hybrid model, much like council took the lead with going away from Zoom and being in the chamber and having a meeting. Maybe I would just let Chris speak to what he's aware of, and I might have a comment after that.
Sure, thanks, Gary. Yeah, we're looking to possibly go to the hybrid model of in-person and Zoom for June. As I understand, last night's council meeting was a bit of a fiasco with a lot of people showing up. So that is something that we kind of have to take into consideration and plan for. So I don't really have an answer for you at the time. I mean, I think we're still going to try and go for the hybrid meeting next month. We just need to think of something creative to deal with an influx of people.
Great. I didn't have anything else, Dan. I'm satisfied with that.
Thank you. Anybody else got anything under new business? I do have a couple points, if I might. I don't know if everyone noticed on our agenda this month, there was an item 8 with another application, A0922-PC. And I did have a little bit of back and forth with staff with regards to that application. Without getting into the details of the specifics of the application, obviously. But basically, maybe Samantha, you can kind of just elaborate what happened with that application and why it's shown where it is versus being on the agenda and so on and so forth. And then we can talk about more of the generalities of adjournments, deferrals, and such.
Yeah. So with the application A09-22-PC, they did have to defer this application because in discussion with the region, they realized they had to rearrange their plans. So then they had to submit a new minor variance application to the planning department. So with that, we have to recirculate the application. So we had to defer the meeting to a future committee of adjustment meeting.
Okay. So I guess in the past, when situations like this happen, typically once an application has been, I guess the signs have been made and notices have been sent initially, then usually it stays on the agenda to the start of the meeting. And at the time when we get to item 4 and the requests of deferrals or withdrawals, that would be the point at which time the applicant could either send in writing the request to defer an application, or staff can ask for a deferral of an application. I guess it all depends on what the issues are. Typically, correct me if I'm wrong, if the applicant asks for the deferral, there's a cost to defer a meeting. I don't know, it's a couple $100 or something like that. Or if staff requires the deferral for whatever reason, then typically there is no fee. Now, is that still the case?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't really have a policy for deferrals / adjournments. It's something that we're going to be looking into. There's no requirement under the Planning Act about bringing them to the committee, even though they've requested an adjournment ahead of time. My initial thought is if they, apply, or if they request an adjournment, we make them pay the fee. But we don't make them come to the committee just to save time, because if it's the only application of the month, It's not really a point in getting everybody together just to adjourn the item. That's sort of my initial thought there. But we will be taking in adjournment and deferral policies from other municipalities to see what they do and sort of revise our process, I think.
Okay. I guess what struck me as odd is the fact that you're calling it an adjournment. In all the training that I've had over all of the years, you can't adjourn something until it starts. Now, I realize they started the application process, so maybe your definition of an adjournment is different than what I would consider an adjournment. But typically for me, once an application starts and we start our meeting, then if something comes up and we need further details or we can't conclude with a decision because we're missing some information, then that's one of the remedies the committee has, is to adjourn an application until such time as they can get the information. Every other aspect of the application can be heard and discussed. And then once we get that information at either the subsequent meeting, the next one, or one following, then we can reactivate the application and then finish it off and it's done. That's typically what I'm used to when you say an adjournment. Anything prior to us starting the application at our meeting would be a deferral, in which case then nothing is discussed and it just basically stops, it gets frozen. And if it's requested by the applicant, fine, then it's deferred. But the reason we always try to put it onto the agenda is because if notices were sent out to various property owners, they're going to show up at this meeting expecting to be heard if they want to talk to it or to listen to what's going on. So at least at that point, they get the opportunity to say, okay, it's being adjourned to the next meeting, so then I'm going to come next meeting. Or if we do start it, they have their opportunity to say whatever they want. And then when it concludes, they've already had their opportunity to make their piece or say their piece with regards to an application. And we can take that into consideration going forward. So that's why we've always done it that way. Now, if they ask for it to be deferred prior to the notices going out, then it just doesn't hit the agenda and no one's the wiser that there's an application coming. So in that case, then you can, if they want to pull it and delay it, that's fine. But the notices only go out, is it 2 weeks before, or is it a little bit longer now?
It's about 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So typically, I guess that's the way we've always done it in the past. I'm not saying that has to be carved in stone. That was just my understanding. And that's why when I seen this in adjournment, it just kind of threw me off a little with regards to whether that was going to be on the agenda or not.
Yeah, I think we got the language mixed up there. Really, they were requesting a deferral. I think we probably had it in the wrong section of the agenda. But I think that's something that we can review as well, because I know some municipalities use the word interchangeably and some don't use like deferral or adjournment at all. They'll just pick one and kind of go from there. But we'll review that.
Okay. The only other thing that I noticed tonight when we were going through our decisions, I think in the past you used to have wording when we read it out that, say for instance, on a variance, the 4 tests based on the staff report. I don't know if we missed saying that this time or some I don't know, something looks a little different. Normally in the 4 variances, we don't just say it's a minor in nature. We usually put another little sentence of descriptor.
Yes,
that's part of our decision. Whether we read that or not, I don't think is overly important because it's already been read in the staff report.
Yeah.
But we should add that because we can't just say that it's minor in nature. We're supposed to, I believe, give a reason why it's minor in nature in our decision. So anyway, if we can just maybe add that back in from the staff report for each one of those items, it doesn't have to be the full big giant paragraph, but just a summation of each one of those 4 points that was written in the staff report would help.
Yeah, we can add that in the resolutions.
Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Oh, Gary?
Yes, I just thought of this, Mr. Chair. I know that our public meeting for building permits has been deferred to a later date, and I understand that one of the reasons is that there are planning fees coming forward. I wanted to ask through you to Chris, as far as the committee of adjustment, is there anything other than, if you know, just fee adjustments coming in that public meeting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Member Bruno. Yeah, it's just going to be fee adjustments relating to Committee of Adjustments. So anything else, if you're asking about timelines in terms of notices, that kind of thing, that's all staying the same. Those are Planning Act requirements. So it's just the fees that are being adjusted.
Thought so, just wanted to check. Thanks.
Thank you. So just going back to Gary's earlier comment, did you want me in council chambers next month as to chair, or how do you want to do that? Does it?
I don't exactly have an answer for you now. I would assume yes, but I will let you know.
Okay, because I think when we first started, or maybe somewhere in the middle, we did that for a little while where I was there, but everyone else was still remote if they wanted to be, just to make sure everyone was evenly spaced out. But I'm good with that. I can attend council chambers in next month.
Sounds good.
All right. So if there's nothing else, we have the minutes from the April 13th meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder for those? Angie, Gary, any questions or comments? All those in favor? That'll be carried. And with that, if there's nothing else, I will consider this meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.